Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Global Happiness Specialist. That's right, I said it. Global Happiness Specialist, Inner Peace Practitioner, Oracle, but most importantly, a student, ongoing student till I breathe my last breath. And that's the thing about this work, and it is work. It's never ending. There's always something to do. It's very bored. How can you get bored when you're looking in the mirror for solutions? How can you get bored? No, but back to the introduction. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the show. I'm getting a lot more new listeners. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. What do we do? Who the hell is she? Who does she think she is? Happiness specialist. Well, one of the things that I've been sharing on this show for what, almost 15 years now. And by the way, before we go on, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619, and just press the number 1. And also, I am live on YouTube. If you want to see my mug, and I haven't even combed my hair. I just took my hair out of the rollers, and it just I look like I don't even want it. Shirley Temple, but not really. Anyway, and also if you want to join the show on Noom Vibe, just ask to join the stage. I will promise you that I will look down periodically, ask to join the stage. I love when I get different perspectives. I love it when you don't agree. I like the part about agreeing or not agreeing, all it is for me, it's just being open to hearing another perspective, and always coming back to the truth. And what is the truth? That's what we're going to talk about today, which is using the word I. And I'm not going to talk to you, I'm not going to point fingers at you, my dear audience, but how are you using the word I? But before we get to today's topic, a really quick introduction. Some people are just listening for the first time. Forgive me, audience, if you've heard this a million times. When I say happiness, let me be very clear. Happiness specialist. I'm talking about maintaining and sustaining a vibration of contentment, an energy of peace, a personal vibration of contentment and peace. And we all know, you know how that feels. I mean, it comes and goes periodically, but is it possible to experience more of those contentment, peaceful moments? I mean, if you're asking me, and I know you all are, if you're asking me, that's the most important. The ability to, and the ability comes from practice, because the good news is, my dear audience, is that happiness, inner peace, contentment, all that are all practiced skills. It's just a practice. And the practice depends on how committed the individual is. How committed is the individual? How important? How much does the individual value an energy of contentment, or are or are I'm just going to say the word you. Are you scratch that? I don't feel good talking about other people, but am I committed to? And when I was younger, I've told this story because a lot of people ask me, well, what happened, and how did you get on this path, and what was there something tragic? And oh, yes. Sometimes the practice can be the trap because you just end up becoming a meditator. All models of mind, spirit, ego just mediator. I said meditator. I can't read either. Thank you for that comment. And I want to comment on your comment. So when you say sometimes the practice can be a trap, and that depends. See, this is the thing. We are as different as our fingerprints. And a word for you may be yeah, I got that. May be different, or scratch that, may be interpreted different for me. You mean I heard someone on YouTube say, the only thing that I want people to treat me with respect. Have you heard that? This need for, or this longing for, or this desire for respect. Well, quite frankly, when you really are serious and you make a commitment and you do want to experience more contentment, needing anything from anyone external, needing anything from the external is already a big problem. So this work, all of the answers, all of the solutions, all of the are comes from within. The work is within, the answers are within, all of it. And so when I say happiness is a practice skill, what do you practice? Thank you for asking. And by the way, the book that I just had published, not to just I'm not a salesperson at all, never have been. But the book that I just published about in the beginning of May, it's called, in fact, if you're watching me on YouTube, hold on a second. Let me hold it up. Oh, I love this chemo person. Here we go. Program for Unhappiness, which is on Amazon. Let me see, to hold it up, hold it down. Program for Unhappiness, which is on Amazon. It's on Lulu. I believe it's on Barnes and Noble. But in that book, and the reason why what I'm saying is, in that book, I list 56 program behaviors that subtract from happiness. And when I say program behaviors, and they're different levels, level 1 through level 3. And the level 1, I like to say, for civilians. And chemo, you're not a civilian. You're past that. I mean, I'm already looking at your comments. And so level 1, level 2, level 3. And so what are program behaviors? When I say happiness and inner peace are all practice skills, like any other skill, the more you commit to the practice, the better the result. So if you want to be a master chef, or an athlete, or a landscaper, or a painter, or a musician, an artist, all of it takes practice. This maintaining and sustaining contentment is the same. But what do you practice? Thank you. So the first part of practice is to gradually eliminate, while practicing patience, and that's the key, gradually eliminate every one of those program behaviors. I said I had 56 in the book. Gradually eliminate those program behaviors, and with patience. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the show, there's always something to do. And so the second part of the practice is to implement every single day behaviors, that non-program behaviors that add to happiness. And let me just throw these in, because I haven't read, scratch that, I haven't shared the program behavior, the non-program behaviors that add to your happiness in a while. So let me just share a few. And this is all in the book also, but non-program behaviors that add to inner peace, contentment, and happiness. And here we go. And then we're going to get to today's topic. A relentless commitment. Remember I said commitment earlier? A commitment, prioritize. When I say happiness specialists, years ago when well, I still do it now, but when you blow out the candles on your birthday cake and you make a wish, or you throw a coin in the pond and you make a wish, or the river and you make a wish. Well, when I was younger, I always wished for the same two things. I wanted to, number one, live to my potential. I had no idea what that meant. I had no specific visual, none of it. I visualized nothing. I just said, I want to live to my potential. And the second thing I asked is I wanted to be happy. So I this happiness thing, what I found is I thought, just like most program people, that when I achieved, accomplished, had a certain amount of money in the bank, traveled, you name it, fill in the blank. And in fact, let me just share this. Someone asked me this the other day, and I've shared this on the show before, but it's a very powerful example. So prior to the infamous slap that was heard around the world, the slap that was heard around the world, Will Smith was interviewed. In fact, I tore out the page. I was at the doctor's office and I tore out the page. Don't tell anybody. Let's see. I have it here too. I have it somewhere. Will Smith was interviewed in GQ magazine. Let me see if I can find it really fast so I can read it verbatim. Will Smith, you can Google this too. Will Smith was interviewed in GQ magazine, and he said, I have everything. I have money, I have fame, I have connections around the world. I have everything anyone could ask. People, any contacts. And at that time, he said, I have a loving family. But you know what else? But you know what else he said in that interview? GQ, November 2021. He said, I'm not happy. Not happy. How can that be? And I think that especially for those people that are the wealthiest, they know they've gotten to the point with 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, 500 million, $1 billion. They know that this contentment can't be found in a with a bank account, with having money. They already know that. And the reason why they know it is because they have everything. And when Will Smith said, I have everything, but I'm not happy, that is why I share and do what I do. There's a very famous study. This also, you can Google this. It's called The 5 Most Common Regrets of the Dying. The 5 Most Common Regrets of the Dying. It was a study done by hospice nurse Bronnie Ware. You can Google that too. Also, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And or if you want to speak, join the show on Noom Vibe, just ask to come on stage. But back to the 5 most common regrets of the dying. Number 1, I wish I would have pursued my dreams and aspirations and not the life others expected of me. Number 2, put a seatbelt on for this one. I wish I didn't work so hard. Ooh, shout out to all my workaholics. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings and speak my mind. Number 4, I wish I would have stayed in touch with my friends. Now, I put an asterisk by that one only because sometimes we outgrow people. Nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with you. It's just time. It's just a new season. It's just time to move on. it's either compatible energy or not. And quite frankly, if someone is in your life and they are annoying you or bothering you, or you're complaining about them, you can't stand them. Guess what? There's a reason. Find the gift. Oh, I know. I hate that one too. So the one about staying in touch with my friends. And the fifth most common regret of the dying is, I wish I would have been happier. Yeah, I wish I would have been happier. And that's why I'm putting the cart before the horse. This contentment and this, anything you think ever would be the perceive happy you receive when you get that, realize everything that you're is worthless. Yes. Yes, chemo. Yes. So I'm on YouTube Live and I'm just reading the chat when I see comments. Yes, but so wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be cool if when I was born, I was taught right away, number one, money, and this thing that the world calls success, that's another thing. This successful, in labeling people successful. What does that mean? Who is the one making a determination that this equals success? I shared this yesterday. Oh, by the way, my son and I have a live show every Saturday morning at 9:15. Saturday morning, 9:15, live on YouTube. It's called Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense, plus more. Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense, plus more. Episode 31 was yesterday. Anyway, I digress. So back to, I've heard those before. Anything dying, so you had to go somebody training, realize you're nobody special. Zero daily. That's a really interesting comment too. Let me share something. If you haven't watched or looked at the videos, there's some videos on YouTube with a spiritual teacher. I mean, he is, I'm throwing my hands up here. Besides David Hawkins, with Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins, Hawkins. This gentleman who is still alive, his name is Moji Baba, Mooji. Just search some of his videos on YouTube. Some of the videos are 6 years old, 5 years old. I just found him a few months ago. So deep. And the truth, and one of his videos, it's called Must Watch. You search by the words Must Watch Satsang, Satsang. Talk about finding an answer in to a lot of these struggles and why the suffering. So let me share this. And now we're on today's topic, using the word I. I'm at the point. You went to visit him? I would love to just meet him. Oh, this was my point. Thank you for bringing me back, Chemo. This is my point. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is my point. The spiritual teacher Moji, and again, just search on YouTube, Mooji. And I even took a picture of it. One of his quotes is, short quote, put your seatbelt on. He said, when you can write who you are, what you do, but who you are, people have resumes. When you can write your resume, who you are, your bio, your resume, on a postage stamp and still have space left, I want to meet you. What? Can you feel that? I mean, when I just said it, my body just chilled up. When you can write when you can describe, when you can convey who you are on the back of a postage stamp and still have room left, I want to meet you. And this just runs right into today's topic, which is using the word I. And when you and I, and I'm saying this for me, when I say the word I, oh, I'm tired, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, I'm irritated, I'm sad, I'm all of those I'ms, what I are you identifying with? And if you are describing and if you are using a lot of labels, and that's and that's one of the things that subtracts. When I said 56 program behaviors that subtract from happiness that are in my book, one of the things that subtracts from happiness is assigning a label to anything. Assigning a label to anything. And that means good, bad, because all labels are a judgment. And scratch that, a programmed judgment. Programmed judgment. So what is the solution? This is what I do. This is what I practice. When I'm feeling whatever, and see how I said when I'm feeling, you hear that? So it's really being conscious of using that word I, using that letter I, and which entity am I identifying with? You following me? Which identity am I identifying with when I use the word I? Well, the world, you know, the world really says, this is me. I'm annoyed. I'm bothered. I'm suffering. I shared I had my right hip replaced actually 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago. And I had my left hip done 2 years ago, and I was expecting, you hear this? Expecting smooth sailing. The first hip replacement, I mean, first of all, I was walking the same day with both of them, same day of surgery with both of them. It's a new procedure. If you know anybody that needs hip replacement, make sure that they are only getting, it's called anterior hip replacement. Anterior. So they don't go in from the side, they don't go in from the back, they don't cut from the side, they don't cut from the back, they cut right in the front. Anterior hip replacement. And I believe there's no muscles cut. I could be wrong, but anyway, so you're able to walk the first day. My point was, but after that, for 2 weeks, I was in excruciating excruciating pain, very uncomfortable. I mean, I have never been that uncomfortable for that long of a period of time in my life. And so now I'm thinking, now we're going back to the topic, I'm in pain. You hear how I'm saying? I'm in pain. I hurt. And then the universe hits me with this. Are you able to practice? Now, this is it, the practice. Are you able to practice transcending the pain? Are you able to mentally transcend? I mean, the body's in pain, but mentally, are you able to go to another place, another place where the pain isn't the focus. You see, when I say my body, I hurt, I'm in pain, who am I talking about? And this goes for all of us. But because you are, because you are, and then you are, and we can talk. True, if you can flip judgment to appreciation. Yes. In this, so the practice is to be very conscious of what entity are you identifying with? And for most of my life, the majority of my life, I'm 68 now, don't tell anybody. The majority of my life, I identified with that person, that Rebecca Norrington. That's me. The person that has preferences, scratch the person, the entity that has preferences, the entity that's not content, the entity that always there's something else to do. I could be doing more, the entity that is never satisfied. And so the practice that I'm really on it. I mean, if I'm the world's happiness, if I'm a global happiness specialist, I better be practicing all the time. And I am. I promise you, I am. The practice is really being mindful of the chatter, the thoughts, and the stories, and allowing, scratch that, allowing, and letting, scratch the letting, observing the stories and the thoughts as if they were just clouds drifting by. The analogy of a cloud or a wind just coming and going. And that is the entity that isn't in pain, and that is the entity that doesn't judge, that it's impossible to waste time, that it is impossible to get in a focus of stay in that focus, be focused on what's wrong. It's impossible. By the way, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And if you are on Noom Vibe, just ask to join the stage. I would love to chat. Let me see. I have one person that wanted to chat. What is that? Chat. Nope, can't do that yet. Nope. I'm busy doing a show now. Okay, so back to using the word I. And I wanted to ask, oh, well, thank you very much. Well, thank you. So what I wanted to ask you, my dear audience, scratch that. Are you aware of the difference between when you're saying I? Are you aware of who are you talking about? And it is a new practice. When I say new practice, it's longer than a few years, but a new practice is really zeroing in. I mean, I'm to the point where I'm just like Prince. I'm gonna start using a symbol for a name. I'm just using a symbol or some numbers. But on the serious tip, it is about lessening and moving away from identifying with the ego, identifying with your humanness, identifying with the chatter that never shuts up. So who are you going to identify with, and which entity is going to bring more contentment? It goes back to, and I've shared this before, but I'll do it again because I have new listeners all the time. Is what I do. Can you imagine? So just visualize going to the theater, darling, going to the theater, and on the stage is the show, drama, suspense, sadness, everything that happens in life, all of the stories, all of the drama, everything is on stage. And all of the stories and all of the events that happen on stage, is that real or is that an illusion? When I go to the theater and I'm watching something on stage, it's not real. Or if I go to the movies, it's not real, or TV, it's not real. So it's the practice of putting my ego on the stage and knowing, number one, it's not real. Number two, it's not me. Number three, I'm not identifying with all of the drama going on stage. What I'm doing is I'm in the audience observing and witnessing. Observing and witnessing. Oh, you have aged gracefully. Thank you. Don't tell anybody, but Botox right between the eyebrows. Did I say that out loud? I'll tell anybody. That's right. Right here, right between the eyebrows. Anyway, I digress. Full disclosure. What was I going to say? Oh, so back to identifying and this is how this whole topic came about. I was on the show yesterday with my son, and we were talking about getting up early. Some people wake up and they're ready to go, shot out of a cannon, a lot of energy, and some people take a long time to wake up, meaning they have to wake up slow. They have to not a lot of stimulation. And in fact, when my son was in high school, one of his requests was, he says, Mom, can you please don't say good morning? Can you stop with the good morning? I mean, I don't understand. It's not me, but I mean, if when I say I love someone and they ask me not to say bubbly good morning, then I won't. So he yesterday on the show, he says, yeah, I wake up in the morning depressed, fearful, angry, scared, sad, anxious. I mean, he was talking about, I wake up and I am A, I am B, I am fearful, I am in the future. All of these I's that he started talking about. And then I asked him, which I are you identifying with? And that is really the topic of today's show. Are you even aware that you are identifying with an entity that isn't you, not the real you? The real you is always at peace. The real you is content. The real you is relaxed. The real you, and you know what I'm talking about, the real you is enjoying this journey. The real you is not judging. The real you vibrates an energy of satisfaction all the time, not just sometimes, all the time, regardless of what happens. And the real you stays in a state of neutrality. And I've talked about this being neutral and staying and living neutral. So that means, so when life hits, when the baseball bat comes to the back of the head, when life hits, you get a curveball, you get a fastball, you get a slider, you get a sinker, you respond with neutral energy. Respond neutral. There's no so you're either responding to life or you're either reacting to life. Which do you think is going to, number one, is more conscious, number two is more aware, number three is going to provide more contentment? Which do you think, living in a state of neutrality, anything can happen, you're okay, next moment, no resistance, practicing no resistance, zero resistance. Is that possible? Anything is possible with practice. Okay, so I'm getting comments. Let's see. What I find that helps me, if I bring awareness, focused on awareness, or I focus on cool air at the tip of my nose coming in and warm air coming out. Well, that's very creative. So, back up, because I didn't even finish the practice. So now the ego is on the stage and I'm in the audience observing and watching and just detached from all of the drama on the stage. And the practice is a detachment from the ego, detachment from the stories, detachment from what is not You. What is not when I use the word I? That's not me. It's not the real me. So it's staying in that place where I'm going to identify with the real me as opposed to this human ego trough of dissatisfaction me. Again, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646 564 9619. Again, area code 646 564 9619. Press the number 1. And if you want to join the stage on Noon Vibe, just ask to join the stage. Now, let me add this too. One of the things, hold on a second. Let me just get my notes. Okay, here we go. I found it. I love it when I find my notes fast. You will not experience real freedom until you stop identifying with your person. What? I'll say it again. And this isn't my quote. This is Mojis' quote. If you're just joining, just search Moji on YouTube. Oh, you won't regret it. He's phenomenal teacher. You will not experience real freedom until you stop identifying with your person. And when I say person, or when he says person, it is that entity that most say I. When you say I, that is your person, unless, because when you're identifying with the self, does the self even have an I? I mean your higher self, your self, that your self that's in the present, that self. So the identification is the practice of identifying and knowing and being aware who you are identifying with is really important. Is because my ego, I don't know about you, but my ego is never happy. There is always something wrong. There is always a story to take me out of the present moment. That there is always a story to convince me that yes, the Rebecca is experiencing this. Welcome, Janie. Hello. So the question becomes, how do you practice more? How do you practice more self-awareness? How do you practice letting go of that habit? Scratch that, the programmed habit of identifying with the ego. And I didn't say your ego, I said the ego. That's another practice to let go of identifying with. And you are either living a planned existence, meaning that you are in the future planning, plotting, organizing for what reason? And let me just back up a little bit. Let me just back up. When I talked about Will Smith at the beginning of the show, when I said he was interviewed in GQ magazine in November 2021 before the famous slap heard around the world, he said, you can Google it. He said, I have everything. Everything money, anything money can buy, I can buy it. Any connection, I can connect. Any person in the world, I can connect to. I have everything. And in that same article, he said, but I'm not happy. And that's all I'm here to share with with the world. Quite frankly, it is my destiny. It is my destiny to share with how to experience this contentment, regardless if you are homeless or the wealthiest person on the planet, because none of that external matters. And if you are honest, well, scratch that. I don't want to come off like that. I've met people that are living on the street, and you have not met someone more peaceful, more happy, more. And so it's not about the outside. It's not about the circumstances. It's not about what you have, what you've achieved, and it never will be. The other practice is having a preference. Which entity has a preference on how you want to feel? Because the programming is, I want to feel good. I want to feel light. I want to I prefer to fill in the blank. And then I also prefer not to have any unwanted moments. You following me with this unwanted moment? But who is not wanting the moment? Which entity is not appreciative or not accepting or resisting the moment? That's a question only you can answer. I know the difference between my higher self, present self, the self, the self that you really can't describe. There is no description to consciousness. It's real. The words are limiting, but I know the difference. And so the practice becomes knowing, practicing, being able to spot the difference like that. And you can, if there is a story or a thought that shoots out dissatisfaction as opposed to gratitude, or as opposed to scratch the gratitude, as opposed to acceptance and thank you for this challenge. I mean, how many times, I don't know about you, but it's just been lately when I say thank you, universe, for the challenges that are inevitably going to come. But backing up to the topic. And again, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And if you are on Noom Vibe, just ask to join the stage. And I'm here in the chat. I'm just going to check and see if I have everything in chat. We break identification. If I am because you are you, and you are you because I am, then I am not, and you are not you. But now see, that's a little confusing, but I love it anyway. But if I am because I am, and you are because you are, then I am, and then you are. What? I like to keep it simple. But what the point is, I used to make everything, or scratch that. My ego, scratch that. The ego that I've been living with for the last 68 years. The ego has so many different disguises. It disguises itself to even pretend that I'm doing good. Okay, so this is an example. Let me give you an example. One of the things that I hear a lot is, well, let me just go back to me. There was a time in my life when I was ready change the world, inspire the world, motivate the world. Everyone, everyone wants to be happy, right? Doesn't everybody want the same thing that this Rebecca Norrington happiness specialist want? Doesn't it? What everybody? And the answer is no. But guess what entity wanted to inspire, to change the world, and wanted everybody happy? Was that universal? Was that the higher self? What I've come to discover is that this everything in the universe is in order, is in divine order. I don't care what dimension you're in. Wow, that's crazy. I don't care what dimension you're in. Everything is in divine order. And with that, when I let go of the pretending or the illusion of I am controlling this, I am making something happen. I am making these decisions, and this also goes for, here we go, seatbelt, and I apologize in advance. Oh, I don't even want to. I'm in a really nice, I don't want to be mean today. It's not being mean. This thinking that there is something called, I'm blocking, I'm sabotaging, I'm blocking my good, I'm blocking my chakras, all of that. I'm on the team that, no, I, you hear the I again? I don't have, and I really do mean that, the lower I don't have the power. I don't have the power to block anything that God has planned for me. I don't have the power to sabotage anything that God has planned. I mean, isn't that a little nutty that this little teeny human side, the ego, can block, can sabotage anything that is destined to be mine or destined for me to experience? I can block that. Well, you can believe what you want to believe. And again, I am live on YouTube. If you want to speak with me, the number is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And if no one has a question or comment or wants to join the stage, and again, the topic is using the word I found that I am not. That's right. That's right. Most unlikely monk. I am not my name. I am not my body. I am definitely not the ego. I'm definitely not the thoughts and the stories. And to explain that to these civilians, I call them civilians, to explain that to any civilian, don't even bother. Not the body, not the stories, not the thoughts, not the name. In fact, hold on a second. Now, you see, now I'm getting chills. Thank you, most likely monk. In my latest book, I'm just holding it up, Program for Unhappiness. It's on Amazon now, Amazon, Lulu, Barnes and Noble. It's called Program for Unhappiness: Exposing the Untold Truth. So this is one of the things that I say at the beginning of the book. Hold on, where is it? Here we go. And I start off with, my dear reader. Aren't I nice? My dear reader, the moment you're born, you're given a name, a nationality, a religion, a gender, a race, and a culture. Then the rest of your life is spent identifying, I'm just reading from my book, identifying and defending those deep-seated program beliefs. The truth is, you are more than your name. You are more than your race. You are more than a religion, a nationality, or a culture. You are even more than your gender. You, my dear reader, are much, much more. Who wrote this? I think she's a genius. You are much, much more. And this has been a 45-year journey, because a lot of times I get this question, how long does it take? 45 years, and I am still practicing. I am still learning. I am still transcending. I am still elevated. I am still in battle. And when I say in battle, in a spiritual battle with the ego. Always. Always. The majority of the time, okay, scratch that. Unless you are conscious and you are, unless you are conscious, when you use that word I, you are describing an entity which is not you. That's the conclusion of this entire show. When you use that word I, you're describing an entity that really isn't even you. Okay, so let's see. I struggle to get past my subconscious program, but catch him, then I wonder who's catching. Exactly. Okay, so let me just say something to that. Most unlikely monk. So let me just say this. Because I'm reading, I struggle. I am finished, done with struggling. I'm letting go. So let me share. Say you have the an infinite amount of money, infinite amount, and you have your dream car. You're gonna go purchase your dream car. Well, what is it? And the color too, whatever. Whether it's a SUV, Mercedes, Maybach, Ferrari, VW bus, Tesla, whatever. So you have your dream car in the exact same color that you want. How about this? You see, I notice. I struggle to get past my subconscious. And so when you say I notice, who is the I? Ooh. But let's get back to the dream car. So you have your dream car. You have it in your head. You already know what it is. You know the model, you know the color. You're on the road, and guess what? You're sitting in the passenger seat. Not the driver's seat. You're sitting in the passenger seat. And who's driving? Who's driving? Hello? I'll wait. You ain't driving. You know what you're doing? You're looking out the window. You're looking out the window and you're enjoying the ride and you're enjoying the scenery. And it's a lot to look at. And who's driving? The universe is driving. God is driving. Source is driving. Whatever term, the divine is driving. Whatever term you want to use. But you aren't driving. So when you say I struggle, all the struggle comes from where? Because the pure awareness, the pure self, the true self doesn't struggle to do anything. There is no such thing as struggle. You can agree with that. So let me just say one of the and I really love your comments, most unlikely monk. The senses are driving. Spark of the divine. I notice. Well, see, when you said I notice. So one of the things that I just practice all the time, number one, it starts with acceptance. It starts with acceptance of where this entity, where this human person is, what this human has quote unquote achieved, what this human has done, what this human is thinking. When I say this human, I'm really separating myself from, and I'm really not identifying with, oh, the Rebecca Norrington. No, that's right. The struggle is an illusion. Absolutely right. But the struggle is not, but the struggle is real to the ego. The struggle is real to the person. The struggle is real to the human. The struggle is real to the lower consciousness. You see how knowing, scratch that, practice knowing the difference, because it's two different worlds. And I lived the majority of my life in that human world, believing, thinking all of what the ego, the characteristics of the ego. But it's time, especially now. I have to say that there's less to do. When I say you're not driving, there's less to do. The shoulders, and enjoy the ride. And especially if you've watched any of these near-death experience videos on YouTube. If you've looked, I had John Davis on the show probably a month ago, maybe a month and a couple of weeks ago on YouTube. So you can watch that interview. And he shared in depth of what he experienced with his near death. And so that is more education. He was explaining how that he knows the difference between, or knows the difference, could feel the difference. Oh, I would. I don't even know what that is. Can feel the difference between the real him. And so all I'm saying is, let's practice it now. The ego will always try to take credit, drive, find fault with. The ego will always try to insert itself in a sneaky way. And it's really the game is, the life is, the journey is knowing the difference. And then when you know the difference, you can also observe all these other wonderful people that are walking around on this planet not knowing the difference. Not knowing the difference, that they are more than only what they're thinking or what they're seeing or what they're, a name, a serial number, a gender, a community. They're more than that. Any other questions? Ask questions. Let's have a question. Wrote them. Katha. I can't take a picture of that, but I can. I'm going to look that up. Thank you, most unlikely monk. And yes, wrapping it all up, if you don't do anything else today, practice observing, practice watching, practice sitting in the audience, looking on stage at the ego, which is really which is just a roller coaster, of emotions, a roller coaster of stories. Oh, and here we go. I'm going to take it another step, and then I'll let you go. The entity that's in the audience observing the ego on stage and all of its emotions. Let's take it a step further. You ever go to a movie theater and then there's a little window, the with the projectionist? I don't know if they still do that. It's 2024. Who knows how they're showing movies now? Just press a button. Who knows? But back in the olden days, there was a person in the movie theater in the back upstairs with the projectionist. He would turn on the projector, the movie would go on, and that is the third place to observe. So it's not the person in the audience. It's not the entity in the audience. That's you. It's not the entity on the stage. That's you. It's the observer. That's you. It's that other place. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that calming? Isn't that magical? And living from practicing, I'm speaking for myself, practicing to remember to live from that spot of observing the observer. That's kind of hard to say. Observing the observer. That's where you want to live. And be very mindful when you use that word I. Be very mindful of who are you talking about? What entity are you talking about? And the awareness is the work. The awareness is always the work. Isn't that simple? Just being aware. All right. Well, next week I will be in Oregon, but I definitely plan to have the show. I just don't know how the reception is going to be, but I'm not going to plan anything that far in advance, am I? Thank you. And I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you watching live on YouTube. Thank you. And also all the people that are on Noom Vibe and on Blog Talk Radio in the queue. That is the end of today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, unless I'm traveling, but I'm going to definitely make a conscious decision to have the show next week, even if I'm by the river. Okay, so 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon, but the book that is it's been out a month and a half, the beginning of May, it's called Programmed for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. Oh, what? What is she doing now? Does she know she's not going to have any more friends after this? Well, she doesn't have any friends anyway. Exposing the Untold Truth. And in this book, I list the 56 program behaviors that have been proven to subtract from your happiness. And I also list 25 non-program behaviors that will add to your happiness. Am I just the nicest person or what when I'm sleeping? So this second book, Program for Unhappiness, can be found on Amazon too, and on Lulu, and also Barnes and Noble, I believe. Until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. Your conscious energy. You're always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient, and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. And remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. Happiness, contentment, inner peace is a practice skill. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, global happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner. Blah, blah, blah. Have a conscious week. Thank you for listening. We can be all. Feel good now. Real good. So many buttons to push.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Yay! Okay, end the stream. Until next week.